Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Gem Drafter. I'm your host, James Newton, and I am glad to be joined by my co host, Corey, also known as Ronald Cavalier. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going well for most people, I think, because everyone's deep into their rookie drafts. I have a few that
Oh,
have
yeah.
finished.
Same here. I'm about halfway through the 10 that have started so far.
Uh, yeah, I have a couple, only a few that haven't started yet, so I'm right there with you.
Nice.
So that's kind of the topic of today's show is just talking more about these rookies because Corey wasn't on the Saturday show with Payson and Jake, where we just kind of generally went over all the landing spots and like kind of what we thought of all the rookies that just got drafted this past weekend. Well, the weekend before this one, right?
Oh, this
So
past weekend. You're right.
oh yeah, gosh, I
Yeah,
just have
I
so
know.
much going on right now.
I
I'm like,
know.
I have inventory at my day job this week, so I'm like
Okay.
working extra hours, and I completely forgot that like the NFL draft was just this past weekend.
Yeah,
It's
it all
hilarious.
happened so fast. It's over, and now we're all reacting.
Yeah, I
And
guess I thought that because I already have a couple drafts that are done. I was like, oh, must have taken a week, right? No, it takes a
right,
day.
right.
Anyway, so I want to start off with the topic of our favorite landing spots and
Sure.
a little bit of homerism for both of these here. I'm going to start it
Oh,
off
always.
with Christian Watson. I just think, pre NFL draft, he was like a darling of, the second round for people. Like a lot of people
Mhm.
were going, oh, I'm going to get him in that 203 to 205 range. A lot of upside. A lot of people, preach that he's raw, but just a physical freak. And now he goes to a landing spot with a Hall of Fame quarterback and all the opportunity in the world. Like, if you just look at the numbers, like Rodgers is a hyper efficient quarterback, throws a lot of touchdowns. He only threw the ball about 550 times last year, but that's still a good amount. It's not like a
Mhm.
Baltimore Ravens 400. So
Right.
I could definitely see him going over that 100 target. Like I'm pretty confident. Like I might put money on him going over the 100 target mark as a rookie.
I could see it. The only pushback I would have on it is does Rodgers play his petty games with Christian Watson? Say Watson, the first 3 weeks they try to give him a few deep shots like they did to MVS in the past, and he drops two or three of them. Does Rodgers just decide, no, I'll just go underneath the cob. It's fine. Here's Aaron Jones for a dump off. It's fine. That's my only pushback with Watson and the landing spot because he's getting the Aaron Rodgers boost. And it's not that he's not talented. He's also very raw. Um, and I've heard people mention some drops with him. I don't know what his percentage was. And I guess he only played 30% of the snaps at North Dakota State as well, which was kind of surprising.
That actually just surprised me. I did not know that stat. Guess I need to be a better fantasy football podcaster.
Oh no, you're fine. I just listen.
I'm just teasing myself a little bit there. But no, I totally get that side of it, and that's where the risk definitely comes in with Watson. But I just think that I'm willing to take that risk because of the immense upside with there just being such weaker options at wide receiver
Sure.
there.
Sure.
I mean, it just seems like it's got to work out. Otherwise, if it doesn't work out, then Rodgers is going to be a huge bust this year, and maybe he throws a fit again.
Right. Right.
I lost a thought that I had on Watson, but it's okay.
Oh,
Maybe it'll come back to me. But
sure.
let's
Yeah,
let's
and
go with you
really
guys.
oh,
Or
okay.
unless you got some more to say about Watson.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like you were mentioning, who else are you gonna take in the back half of the first round? Once the top, what is it, 6 or 7 wide receivers go, it's then Sky Moore, Watson, Pickens, or
Mhm.
James Cook. Make your choice there. And I don't think it's a bad bet to make. I like to take the Sky Moore bet with Patrick Mahomes just because I could see a longer career. Who knows with Aaron Rodgers? He could, get upset tomorrow and be like, "No, I'm retired again," or "I'm holding out again."
Yeah, I mean, he really has all the control.
Yeah.
Uh,
That,
I grabbed my thought. I found it. Uh,
yes.
Watson was used a little bit on some jet sweep type stuff, so that'd be interesting to
Yes.
see him get some carries like tall Debo or something.
Sure, sure, yeah. Yeah, and if they're gonna use him that way, I think that'll be a definite benefit to his rookie season. Getting those manufactured touches is always good to see.
Something that just came to my mind too, I think I mentioned on the previous episode that I did with you and Payson was the comparison of the Packers rushing attempts to Denver's because of the Melvin Gordon signing.
Mhm.
And it just popped into my head like maybe that the Packers have way less rushing attempts because of, the quarterback being good there. Like they have
Sure.
bigger chunk plays so they get downfield. It just leads to less rush attempts. It doesn't mean there's probably less red zone, but just a thought I had on top of my head here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Rodgers is a lot more efficient than whatever Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock are gonna do. That's for sure. And I
Yeah,
can't stand
so
Aaron Rodgers, so I hate to say that.
I mean, as a person, most people can't, but
Oh,
I can't hate on the guy too much as he is like my football team savior for the last, everyone was worried when Favre was ending
sure.
because he was throwing a lot of interceptions and it was not good.
Yeah.
I remember several playoff games where we're just like, "What are you doing, man?" Just he just thinks the guy's gonna be open no matter what. But
Yeah, I had a blast. I thought it was great.
yeah, yeah, I bet you did. For anyone that is first time listening, Corey's a Lions fan and I'm a Packers fan.
Yeah.
But let's maybe that's a segue into your guy here.
Sure, yeah. We'll just go right into Jamison Williams. I'm sure it's a running theme that I'll just talk about Lions players. Um, I think it's really good for him. Or Amon-Ra St. Brown is the only Lions receiver under contract past this season. So DJ Chark will be out of town unless they decide to re-sign him or if they draft more wide receivers. They made a huge move up to get him, which I think says a lot about what they think about him as a player. So they're obviously going to use him. And I think he brings something different to the table than Swift and Hawkinson and Amon Ra, who are all kind of your short area underneath guys. Not that Jameson can't do that, but he's also a field stretcher. That'll kind of give another piece of depth to that offense. And I think it'll actually help everyone as a whole as opposed to hurting.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. The ACL does scare me a little bit. The team, I know I'm sorry to hate on your Lions, but the
Oh, it's
team
fun. I
overall,
get it.
like I know I love the weapons on the Lions now. Like I have so many Lions players across my dynasty teams. And I guess what's just putting me below some of those other wide receivers that I like is just the ACL pretty much. It's like my
I
only
gotcha.
thing that's downgrading JMO's value for me. But I definitely loved him like before, like pre ACL. Like my ritual kind of during football season is to either A, if I'm not obligated to anything, watch some college football, or
Mhm.
B, on Sunday mornings before the NFL, if any of the YouTube highlight channels have college highlights out like from the game,
Mhm.
where you get more of each player. In my thought is that you get more of each player from watching the every single college highlight game from that week every week, and so you kind of build up that tape reps going
Sure.
along in the season. I really loved Jameson Williams last year. Like I flip flopped so much with these wide receivers throughout the college season. Like at one point, I had Jameson Williams as my top wide receiver. I was like,
Mhm.
this guy is so fast, so good. But um, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
I was
definitely go ahead.
I was gonna say I was Burks for the longest time, I think, with everybody, and then I kinda got concerned with his usage at Arkansas and how it was a little bit in the slot and not so much refined route running or anything like that. And then I became a Garrett Wilson guy, and then Garrett Wilson gets the Jets landing spot. So now I just go to the homer pick and go with Jamison Williams. And really, I think you can take them all, put them in a bag, shake them up, and pull one out, and you're probably pretty okay.
I think so. I think there's a good possibility that the 4 or 5 really good dynasty wide receivers come out of this class.
Sure.
Similar to 2014, maybe they're not all the same style of prospect exactly, but just
Mhm.
that caliber of talent. Because I mean, that year for dynasty value was, OBJ was like top. I mean, dynasty has evolved since then. People aren't necessarily going to take a wide receiver with that first pick anymore. But
Right. Right.
I just had a couple others here that we can just kind of brush over. I kind of am starting to fall in love with Olave's landing spot because I just think Winston's going to put up so much volume, especially if
Yeah.
Kamara gets suspended.
If what happens if Michael Thomas, throws a fit again at
Yeah,
30 years old? Send him to the pasture at this point. It's time for him to see his way out, I think. I think it's going to be a new era in New Orleans with Olave. And I think he's just the start of it, but year 1 should be huge for him.
I don't even necessarily think that it has to be that this year. Like they could
Mhm.
coexist this year. Olave might not he might be a value next year then. He might do just enough to, like, retain value, but not enough to blow up to where you can't afford him anymore, and he's like a
Sure.
2nd, 3rd round startup pick. But
Sure.
it's starting to grow on me a little bit.
Mhm.
We'll get to I'll touch back on this actually with another guy that we're gonna talk about later in the show, but, and then you had I just saw because yours is kinda
Yeah.
different. Olave too, that's awesome.
Yeah, we both had
I
Olave. Yeah,
just noticed that now.
I just think the Saints are a great organization to go to. If you just look at historically, the past 10 years with Breeze and Peyton, and I know that's all changed now, but I believe the front office is still mostly intact. So a lot of the head honcho decision makers, I think, will put everybody in the best position they can to succeed there. Um, and they traded up for Olave as well. So that says a lot about the player when they want to go up and get that guy.
I would say the only thing that's a little bit worrisome is that they don't have a 23 first anymore. So they if Winston doesn't work out, they kind of
Mhm.
shot themselves on ammo in the 23 class to figure out a quarterback. But I should probably look up who the free agent quarterbacks are next year.
Sure.
But let's just hope that Winston succeeds
Yeah.
for this
Well, at
sake.
least he'll chuck it. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, look what he did in Tampa. Mike Evans,
right.
I know he was a little bit inconsistent there for a while, but still always had 1,000 yards. But
Right. Right.
he would be like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 15, wide receiver 5, wide receiver. I'm just paraphrasing. I don't know the exact, you
Right.
know, finishes,
And
but
where it was Olave is what, going 1.8, 1.7 right now? So, I mean, if you get a Mike Evans type with 1,000 yards for 8 years straight at 1.8, that's awesome. That's a steal.
yeah, not like
I
in
don't.
the sense of like archetype, but yeah,
Oh
the
yeah. Yep.
statistically is saying, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Performance wise, yeah.
I actually just paid up for Olave. I guess I'm just gonna jump to one of these trades that I had in here, and it was in a startup draft. I had traded back for an extra 23 first, and that guy was going kind of win now. Just to quote a little bit of his team here, he has Najee and Christian McCaffrey at running back, Cooper Cup and Tyreek Hill at wide receiver so far. Oh, he has Joe Mixon in his flex spot, and then he has Aaron Rodgers and Tannehill. Think what you want of Tannehill. So I ended up trading away my, I think, 13th round startup pick
Okay.
and a 23 first to go up
Okay.
to 501 where I took Olave.
Wow.
Just because I wanted to get him. I didn't think he was gonna last like later in that round at 509 Garrett Wilson went, so maybe he would have, but I didn't want to take the chance. So I felt
Right.
like I was basically giving up a 23 first and like I don't know, a second round rookie pick.
Yeah, maybe. The 13th. I think I've been staring at some startups, and I think like once we get to the 10th round and later, I honestly could care less if I lose the picks just because it's just bench fodder and just BS. I mean, unless you get lucky, you know, um, that's always possible. But
Well, if you do 13 times 12 it's like 136, I think, right? So if you go down on ADP on Sleeper that I have open right here, it's like
Hmm.
Rondale Moore, Malik
Yeah. Nope.
Willis,
Nope.
uh, you know, Michael Gallup. So I gave up one of those guys plus a 23 first to go get one of my guys, and people preach that all the time, like go get your guys. And I don't think I really
Yeah.
overpaid that much
No, I
because I
don't
do
think it was
believe
too bad.
that's going to be a late 23 first.
Hmm.
Um, so then I guess it's kind of maybe it shouldn't have been in the favorite landing spot, but I do see immense upside in the Raiders offense with them having all those passing weapons now. And I'm just, with them declining Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option, and I should look up Kenyon Drake's contract, but I love Zamir White's upside. I think people are
Hmm.
forgetting just because he got drafted in the 4th round that he ran a 4.4 flat at the combine. And I should actually player profiler him right now, just because I forgot the other workout metrics.
Uh,
And I know, oh, go ahead.
oh no, I'm just saying to you while I'm looking up
65th,
the Kenyon Drake.
yeah, thank you.
You're
65th
welcome.
percentile burst score. And yeah, 4.4 flats. And I just loved the college tape. Like, in between the tackles, just such a great runner, and I would love to see him develop into the passing game. A lot of burst, just exactly what I like in a running back. And to quote
Hmm.
another Georgia running back, like Nick Chubb, not as good as Nick Chubb, obviously, but like just has that between the tackles prowess, and I could see him climbing the depth chart and taking some of that workload. As he's
Sure.
going in what,
And Kenyon
the
Drake,
early 3rd round?
yeah, yeah. Actually picked up a few because of you, and your fandom for him. I watched the tape and I came away kind of meh. He seemed like a fine running back. I didn't think anything like spectacular, but I think he can get the job done. And I actually have, I think it's later in the show sheet, Jacobs as a veteran that was hurt by the draft. Um, Let me get to it here. Yes,
Oh, but you
because
had
of the
Drake?
addition. Yeah, I put Jacobs as the one of my biggest draft losers because of Zamir White coming and because they have Drake and Bolden now, and now we just learned they signed Sincere McCormick today as an undrafted free agent. So clearly it seems like they're looking for something, or they're just going to become New England West, and every single one of those backs is going to have a role that they play, and they're only going to do that role. And honestly, that's going to be even worse
It could be.
than
That could be the
that's
scenario.
that's the scary part.
Did you
And
have
Kenyon
Kenyon
Drake,
Drake's
yeah,
contract?
he is a free agent in 2023. So he will
Okay.
no longer be under contract next year.
It seems highly unlikely that they extend him. Like, he really didn't get used that much last year, did he?
No, no, not really. He also fractured his ankle or broke his leg. One of those two. I can't remember which injury it was, but
What a fall from grace for him, like, when he
oh,
got to the Cardinals and blew
God,
up like crazy, like 40-point fantasy games, and then to
I
just
know.
fall off the face of the earth. Like, I don't put it on him necessarily. I don't know what happened, but crazy.
Him and Miles Sanders crushed me in dynasty startups in 2020. I was all about taking them later and just didn't pan out for me whatsoever.
Something to think about with Josh Jacobs that I'm just speculating. I'm not saying this is any sort of truth. I'm not trying to, say I know who Josh Jacobs is, but he had talked about when he got drafted, like his struggle, like he lived in a car for a while, so
Hmm.
just to get that money now in the NFL and be comfortable, like mm, I'm not like again, I'm not saying this is true or a fact or anything, but maybe kind of pumping the brakes a little bit on the working hard and getting a little bit too comfortable. So that's something to think about if you're holding Josh Jacobs. I'm not saying that's the reason why Zamir White's gonna like overtake him or something, But
Mhm.
I think about psychological stuff like that with
Oh,
players sometimes, like
it's a
in
big part. It's a big part. Look at Kadarius Toney right now. What's going on in New York? You know, they were trying to move him because he didn't show up for the new coaching staff to do their organize, or it's not OTAs, just some sort of team activities, but he wasn't even there. He was working out by himself, you know. And he did a
yeah,
few other things, you know, punching people in the helmets, things of that nature.
not good.
No, no.
So it looks like you have one other guy on here.
I do. I have my other guy, Kenny Walker. I do like the landing spot. I don't know if Chris Carson ever plays again. A neck injury in a contact sport and the way that Chris Carson runs, I don't see any of that meshing or being a wise choice for him, like for his life, basically. I don't know the severity of it. It doesn't seem like anybody really does. It's all been very vague news on Chris Carson, so he doesn't concern me whatsoever for Kenneth Walker. And then Rashad Penny has yet to play more than 5 or 6 games in a season, I think. I'm just spitballing that out. But he's hurt every year, so he's going to miss time. Even if it's a short period of time, that should be enough time to show what Kenny Walker can do with a full workload and for him to sustain that value, even if the offense is bad. Look, he played with a terrible quarterback at Michigan State as well and a terrible offensive line. The offensive line at Michigan State gave him the nickname the Eraser because he erased all their mistakes and made them look good. So I'm pretty excited for him there. Pete Carroll wants to pound the ball. He wants to run the ball. That's all he ever wanted to do with Russ. And so if he ever sees the entire backfield work, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I love Kenny Walker to Seattle. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say I love it as much, but I don't mind it. Like I'm still
Hmm.
taking Walker at 102 all day.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Based on your next player here, you might be taking him either higher or you might be taking someone else in that 101 spot. Um, do you want to? Because we're already 22 minutes in here. We only
Oh,
covered
sure.
one
I'll
subject.
I'll speed it up.
That's
I'll
a
speed it up.
no, it's all good. It's me too. I'm definitely a ranter.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, I don't want to give any disrespect to Kenny Walker. I like that landing spot a lot, and I'm
I do
definitely
too.
gobbling it up. I've seen him go as late as 106.
I wish, but I keep having 102s in my draft, so he just doesn't make it there. I
Yep.
just keep taking him.
So, do you want to talk about why you hate Brees Hall now?
So it's not so much that I hate Brees Hall. I do like Brees Hall, and I have been taking Brees Hall 101. I'm not that crazy, but it's just the Jets in general. Um, you know, they gave Zach Wilson everything he needs to succeed, but when have we ever seen a Jets team succeed? Uh, when Mark Sanchez was there in 2008, um, it's just not an exciting landing spot. I don't have all that much faith in the coaching staff. I didn't get to watch a lot of Jets games, but the games I did watch, it kind of seemed like a mess over there. And he killed my Michael Carter shares, so he also gets bumped down for me for that. So
I didn't preface this by saying that this is we're moving on to landing spots that we hated for players, but it's probably assumed at this point. I don't love it. I don't like it even, but I'm still taking Brees Hall at 101 just because I think that, last year you said it was looking sloppy, but they had a significantly less amount of weapons. Now they
sure,
add
sure.
Wilson to Elijah Moore and they add Ruckert at tight end. Who knows how he's going to develop? They still have Michael Carter and then they draft Brees Hall in the second round. So I think even if he doesn't have, just like we said with Kenneth Walker, I'm kind of not minding it. I'm still going to take
Mhm.
him.
Yeah. Do you think that if Malik Willis and Ritter had snuck into the first round of the NFL draft somehow, that we would still be taking Brees Hall at 101 with the Jets landing spot, or do you think he would be bumped down behind those quarterbacks?
I think I could see. I mean, yeah, with the Jets landing spot, I could see it for some people. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily think I would have done that because I was kind of against the Malik Willis 102 since the beginning. Like I was always, Kenny Walker or at one point I was like Jameson Williams. Like I'm just not gonna, um, to jump ahead a little bit. Like I'm just kind of a void on, even though they have a strong argument for volume. I'm just kind of a void on London and Burks. Like I'm just gonna let someone else take those guys and just take the wide receivers that I like that are in a better situation, in
Mhm.
my opinion. Like I know Tennessee's not a bad situation, but like or wasn't last year at least. Like they were in the AFC Championship game.
Right.
Uh, or wait, no, they lost to the Bengals in the conference
Oh,
final.
yep. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
getting ahead of myself there a little bit. I'm gonna
The
save that one
defense
for you.
carried that team too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's and
Uh,
so to say talk about that just briefly, like, or no, I'm gonna save it. Actually, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save
okay.
it.
Save it. You save it.
So my landing spot that I hated is Washington, man. I hate that. I liked Dotson a decent amount. I didn't love him. Like I like Olave a lot more as a
Mhm.
senior prospect, but I didn't mind Dotson. And you can't hate on that. Was it when he was a sophomore? Too, so 3 years ago now, when he had those insane one-handed catches against that Ohio State cornerback that like flaked out of the NFL and wasn't even good. Oh,
Mm.
draft pick happened. I should.
Oh, that's your pick. I was about to check my phone. I was like, "What draft am I sitting in right now?"
The real McSpanky shout out just took Aaron Jones at the 7-12.
Ooh. I just traded for Aaron Jones, actually. I
Elijah
traded
Mitchell.
ooh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I traded the 108 for Aaron Jones in a league the other day. It's kinda it turned into a little bit of a win now team. It's not something I'd normally do, buying running backs, but at 1-8, I wasn't gonna get a running back, and felt I needed the depth at running back, and I was pretty solid at wide receiver as usual because I love wide receivers.
I don't think I can get there, but I kind of understand it. I wonder if it's just gonna be so 50-50 there, like the argument for Javante and Melvin Gordon. I worry about it. Um,
Mhm.
like Elijah Mitchell, James Conner, Zeke, and that's pretty much it for names that are left on the board. I think I want all those guys over Aaron Jones just based on
Really?
workload. Um,
Oh.
maybe not. I don't know. I guess I
So
should. I'm speaking too quickly because I don't know exactly where Aaron Jones finished last year. But
so he gets hyper targeted when Devontae Adams misses games.
gosh, you got to think that's going to happen. Then
Yeah,
I
that's
guess I was
kinda
overlooking that.
that was the selling point for me in my head and why I was like, 108, and I have a ton of leagues, so sending 108 isn't really, crushing me anywhere.
Oh, and you took Fournette at the 801, and now I finally hit the right button to mute it. uh, Tangent there. So yeah, I just calling back to Winston a little bit for my Dotson landing spot that I don't like. I
Mhm,
just I have Wentz. I hope Wentz gets better and succeeds, but I just see Wentz as like that quarterback that is not gonna move the chains, and so it's gonna be a lot less opportunity. Whereas Jameis is gonna have a lot of turnovers, but he's gonna get the ball downfield. There's gonna be
mhm,
at least a lot of volume yardage wise for that offense. I worry
sure,
about that for Washington.
sure. Yeah, I don't really trust Rivera to develop Wentz or put him in, uh, really good situations. Um, we kind of saw the way he used Cam Newton, and Cam Newton never really developed into anything more than what he was when he came into the league. You know, he got a little bit better here and there, but we were always like, man, if Cam could just really put that arm together, we could really have, he could really be something special. It seemed like every year that was talked about. So I just don't have any faith in that coaching staff. And then the other things said about Wentz, maybe it was Darren Sproles had called him out in an Eagles practice when they made that Super Bowl run because Wentz was complaining that he wasn't out there and they shouldn't be making this run without him. Apparently, he rubbed people the wrong way in Indianapolis. Like, I could see another quick exit from the Commanders because if it goes bad, another early pick in 23, it's supposed to be loaded quarterback class.
Yeah, it's one of my worries, man. It's one of my worries. I probably should go trade away the couple shares of Carson Wentz that I have. Yeah, that's not. Oh, you just made me even more worried. I hate this landing spot even more now.
Uh, the second he got moved to the Commanders, I just instantly was just sending out Carson Wentz offers. Just get him out of here. I was trading for Cousins, for Carr, for Stafford.
Did you get anything done on that
I
front?
did. I did. I can look them up for you if you wanna.
I mean, we can. We could talk about your next guy here too while you're
Sure.
looking it up. I can talk about your next guy.
Yeah.
Corey hates the landing spot for James Cook in Buffalo, and I kind of do as well. I mean, I don't hate it. I see that, it's a good team and good teams usually produce good running backs. And
Mhm.
I loved Singletary coming out of school, but you can't avoid the fact that he's just too small. Like he's just too small to sustain any sort of usage in the NFL, in my opinion. And you have it quoted here. They got pretty low target share in the passing game. And I think Singletary had 188 carries last year. It's not something you're in love with.
No.
So I I just I think people are falling into that CEH trap once again, man. And it's not
Mhm.
as high. It's not 101, but it's still a pick where you're taking James Cook over, some of these other guys that I think were just better pre-draft, like Pickens, Watson.
Yep.
Like, why?
Yeah, I'm not sure. See, I wanted James Cook in the mid-second, and I wanted him to go to a more stationary quarterback. Somebody who's going to dump the ball down a lot more. And I just don't see Josh Allen using him that way. I'm sure they will have designed things, but if Josh Allen gets in trouble, Josh Allen is just going to take off himself. He's not going to look for James Cook, standing there. It's just not ideal. We'll see what happens. I'm not taking him in super flex leagues. I did take him in a one quarterback league in the first round though. But that's one quarterback. It's a pretty win now team, so I'm just going to gamble on the running back. And he's my RB3 behind Swift and Kenneth Walker there. So,
I've avoided him this far. It's not that I wouldn't take him. I've either traded out or I just take like a Pickens, like at the
mhm,
111, 112 if I'm there. If I have to, I'm just taking one of the guys I liked more pre-draft. And
sure.
I don't think that Singletary is going away either. That's the
No,
thing is like I think
nope.
that it's gonna be Cook is Singletary now and Singletary is that other guy.
Right,
If it's even that.
right. Does Zach Moss become a thing? Probably not, but you can always throw his name into the mix. Do they use him as the goal line back and Singletary and James Cook are between the 20s and the 2-minute guy? And it could be a mess. It could be New England style mess.
Do they start to pass it more? Like, I forgot who the wide receiver was that they drafted late, but then
Uh,
they also sorry,
Khalil
go ahead.
Shakir.
Yeah, and actually he's kind of sneaky, like, interesting.
Hmm.
And then I saw they signed UDFA, Reggie Roberson, who's not, like, super sexy, but, like, people were on him for a little bit, I think out of SMU, right? Like,
Okay.
not a terrible wide receiver, and then bringing in OJ Howard, like, he's been used as a blocker mostly, but before I think he tore his ACL, right? Before that,
Yeah,
or Achilles, something like
Achilles. He
that.
might have been
Yeah,
Achilles as well.
Achilles. Um, he was blowing up a little bit
Mhm.
with Winston still on the team. So yeah, very murky situation for the
Yeah.
skill position players outside of Stephon Diggs.
They brought Crowder in too, and that's a
Oh
nice
yeah,
short area target as well.
just and Josh Allen, he is good enough to. I mean, obviously, he's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league. Like he's gonna spread it around to the guy that's open.
Mhm.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, Diggs is gonna get his, and then after that, it's like whoever's
It's a
open.
Yep, it's a coin flip at that point.
Maybe we see Gabriel Davis level up,
Oh,
but
yeah, I forgot Gabe Davis is even there. I
so
forgot about
many,
that thing.
so many weapons there now. It's like they have to. You have to now in the AFC.
Yeah, yeah,
So
the
many
AFC is
weapons.
loaded. It's nuts.
You want to call back to some of your Wentz trades if you
Oh,
grab them?
sure. Yes. So I sent Carson Wentz the 204, 304, and 309 for Kirk Cousins.
That's great.
Let's see what other one I have here. I sent Wentz the 204, 205 for Derek Carr and Kareem Hunt.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I really liked that one. And that was pre Devonte Adams trade.
Yeah, so you
Because
were
then
taking a risk.
yeah, I was taking a risk at that point, but then the Devonte Adams trade happened, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Since you brought up Kareem Hunt, I'm just gonna mention real quick. I traded a 23 second because I was desperate to get Zamir
Hmm.
on a good team. Like I just wanted more depth. And I just wanted another upside shot on depth.
Sure.
And I traded it for 301. And then this guy offered me Kareem Hunt immediately for 301. And so I just took that. I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
I don't know, 23 second for Kareem Hunt. I don't know how you feel about that. Was basically
Uh,
the trade.
so I'm of the opinion I'm just holding all of my 23 picks pretty much at this point until I get into the season and I can kind of gauge where they're going to land. That's just me being cautious with my picks. My first year dynasty, I sold all of my picks trying to win, year one. And it really set a lot of teams back and it really, really hurt. So I am just holding those because they've pretty much been gold, but I could understand sending a 23 second for Kareem Hunt. I don't think it's a bad bet to make, especially on a win now team. And if you're confident in the team, I could see doing it.
Yeah, the guy he had fever for Wandale Robinson for some reason.
Oh my
Came up and got Wandale.
God. Oh, Wandale, Rondale, it's all the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he could be like somewhere in between that and like a Waddle. Could be. Probably not though.
No, I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
think,
I'm not saying close to Waddle, but just somewhere in between. Could be better than Rondale for sure. But
well, that's not going to be very hard. I mean, if he has two good games, he's better than Rondale at this point. I think JB shared the stat in the Discord chat a few months back, and it was wide receivers under 5'9" to have a top 24 season. And I want to say there was something like 25 to 30 names on there, and there was one top 24 season on a wide receiver under 5'9". And the name escapes me for some reason, but
yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, flat. There was one, you know, Cohen. I almost said Hohen. Tariq Cohen is like a flash in the pan. For a while, people thought that he was going to be an outlier in that
I don't
department.
want to talk about Tariq Cohen. I spent so many picks on Tariq Cohen last year.
Uh,
Oh,
so do you want to talk about your uh oh I was down the list a little bit. So okay, so we're through all the landing spots that we hate pretty much because I only had
mhm.
one because I've been so busy this week. So
Oh, you're
for
good.
biggest draft winners, doesn't have to be a rookie necessarily. I mean, some of the obvious ones I had listed here were Goff and Winston. A rookie that I had was Christian Watson just because he got attached to a great situation. I put Kenny Pickett as well because of all the weapons surrounded in my opinion, just he has so many weapons around him. I think he's got a great chance to succeed. And then my last guy I had on here was Laviska Shenault because the Jaguars did basically nothing at wide receiver in the draft.
They spent $10 million on wide receiver in free agency, though. Christian Kirk's in town,
Wasn't
and
it like
a bunch
20
of
million?
other. I don't know what it was.
Think it was
I was just
20
throw
million.
it.
So
It
double what
was
you said.
it was just a ridiculous amount of money. I feel like they brought somebody else in too. Um,
They did. They did. I
I don't know.
forget who though.
I don't think Laviska Shenault will ever be a thing unless he pulls like a Cordero Patterson and just hangs out for 10 years and then somebody figures out the right way to use him. Um, I hate injury prone, but he does seem to be often injured with just like little nicks and bruises. It's not like he tore his ACL, he's out for, this many games. It's like contusion, shoulder soreness, it's things you should play through, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, he played 16 games last year and 14 games, but he has been banged up in those games. Like I don't know, the game started stats weird because if they're not on the field for the first snap,
Yeah.
they don't
Yep.
get that. But I mean, last year was just not good. I mean, he had 100 targets, but I mean, is it T-Law or is it him? I think that people put that gadgety tag on him like a little bit too much. Like I think he's a little bit more than that. I understand why people don't think that, but he doesn't cost very much right now. So if
Right.
you
And
want
you
to
get
take
pretty much
my
free, I
advice,
bet.
you can get him for super duper cheap. Like probably, if someone's got that fever, you could probably get him for like your 303 or 304 if it's
Sure,
like
sure.
somebody's falling into that range.
Hmm. Yeah, that's why I can't hate on it too much because I mean he's practically free at this point. And if you want to shoot that shot, I mean you can that's perfectly fine.
So I just kind of listed all mine there.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, whatever if you want. I know you shook your head a little bit at Kenny Pickett.
So it's just the offensive line. They did nothing to address that offensive line. Um, I think a lot of people talked about it in the draft day chat too, how Kenny Pickett always fades to the right, hoping they have a good right tackle for him. And Big Ben was under pressure, you know, a lot, very often. And I don't know if Kenny Pickett is exactly ready for that yet. Roethlisberger had his entire NFL career, of seeing everything throughout the NFL. You probably couldn't throw much at Ben Roethlisberger that would surprise him, as opposed to Kenny Pickett, where I think you can confuse Kenny Pickett at this point in his career. Not saying that he's just going to flounder, but I could see it being a little bit rougher of a season than something good. Like I think he'll probably hover in the Tua range where Tua's been hovering the past couple years for value wise. But he does have a good organization and he does have great weapons. So those are definite pluses. And I think at some point they will figure it out. I don't think it's this year though. So you have to be patient with Kenny Pickett.
I respect that take really a lot. Like makes total sense. I guess I'm just hyped on the weapons quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of hoping that they bring him along slow, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like how Herbert. I know I'm not comparing him to Herbert, like talent wise. Like I don't want people to think that, but like I just hope he gets kind of brought along slow. Maybe Mitch something doesn't doesn't do very well, and then he gets thrown in there. But um, it would probably be best if he sat the whole season. It would be
I
kind of
think so too.
disappointing. I think he would definitely lose dynasty value if he sat the whole season. Um,
Uh, I think it I think it would depend on how the Steelers season is going. If they're right on the cusp of the playoffs and he does like a Trey Lance year, he's obviously not going to hold the value of Trey Lance, but I think he could stay steady if he sat the whole year and they make a playoff run, because then you can have a legitimate reason as to why he was sitting because it was working with Trubisky. So why fix something that isn't broke?
It's hard to see that team being on the cusp of the playoffs, like with the amount, with the question, like just right now, like it could totally change if Kenny Pickett's actually good and like proves
Hmm.
everyone wrong. But like just beastly teams in the AFC, and like in that
Sure,
division alone, if
sure.
Watson plays this year, like in that division alone, the Ravens and the Browns, it's just like maybe that's why the Steelers felt like they had to add to the offense just because they don't want to be. I mean, it's,
Trying to keep up.
yeah. So I mean, and obviously Goff got another amazing weapon that we've been going off about on this
Oh yeah,
podcast.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm
Well, we can.
terrified that Goff is gonna do like semi decent, and they're gonna continue to believe in him.
I
That's
mean,
my bigger fear.
yeah. Oh, at that point, I guess you hope that he doesn't just do semi decent, and you hope that he does well enough to like reestablish himself. Because for quite a few years, Goff had a lot of dynasty value. Like when he
Yeah.
was with the Rams, like I remember I made a terrible trade. I traded Dak for Goff and Brandon Cooks when they were linked and when they were doing things.
Mhm.
And then in hindsight, like Dak's like a first round startup pick, and Goff and
Right.
Brandon Cooks are dust. That's how
Yeah.
quickly things change.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast it changes. But Goff did play competent. I think the second half of the season, once Dan Campbell took over play calling, and they had Ben Johnson designing the plays. Ben Johnson's now the offensive coordinator for the Lions, and also it kind of coincided with Josh Reynolds coming to town, and that gave Goff a deep threat to stretch the field, and I think it changed the offense a little bit. And I think that they see Jameson Williams as an upgraded version of what Josh Reynolds brought to the offense.
Yeah, and if Jameson doesn't eat, I mean, if he's healthy and running those deep routes, posts, goes, I mean Hawkinson and Amon-Ra are just going to feast. And Swift too. I was gonna say that about Cook, James Cook, that like
Hmm.
I don't believe I ever saw him line up like Swift, like basically like
Uh,
a wide receiver.
yeah, I would have to go back through. Um, I can pull my notes up here and see if I listed it at all, but to my knowledge, I don't remember him doing that.
Yeah, I definitely do not. So let's talk about your winners here. Some pretty obvious guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was mostly more excited for these guys. J.K. Dobbins for sure. I have been buying him, since he tore his ACL. I've been on a kick of trying to buy him. I didn't get as nearly as many shares as what I would have liked to get. Um, but I was able to add some, and I was able to add some a little cheaper. Um, yeah, nothing on James Cook in that anyway. And
Yeah,
then
he
James Conner, big
had
winner. Who'd they bring in? Keontae Ingram from USC. He was fine. He wasn't, I don't think Connor's any threat, or he's any threat to James Conner. And I'm a big hates herder or Hurts hater, sorry. But
Hates Herder. Yeah.
I'm a hates herder.
Hates whoever you are. Go watch
uh,
out, man.
um, but yeah, I think he was a big winner. Just getting AJ Brown, giving him more weapons to utilize. I don't think that he'll succeed, but I do think he's a winner. They didn't take a quarterback, so they're obviously giving him the opportunity to prove himself. Um, and he could do that. I personally don't think he will. This has been the same story since he was at Alabama. Man, if Jalen Hurts could just throw the ball a little bit better, he would be such a great quarterback. But you hear it time and time again. The story and history just repeats itself, and I think he will be replaced after next year. I think AJ Brown is going to give us a little bit of fool's gold to be able to sell Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to house a few, slants. Excuse me, for Jalen Hurts, and it's going to make that stat line look a little bit better throwing the ball wise. So I think it's going to be a little bit of fool's gold for Jalen Hurts. And if you have him, I'd sell him immediately if he gets a spike.
I definitely, you know, agree with you. Like, I don't have any Jalen Hurts, so I can't it's easy to agree with you, but I
Same.
can also see, a world where they kinda design it around him rolling out of the pocket, and now he has that extra weapon that's just, gonna get open when he buys time aside
Mhm.
Devonta. So,
So
it's gonna be interesting to find out what's gonna happen for sure.
right. With saying that though, I think, I didn't watch every game he played in college, but he went to Alabama and Oklahoma. These are dominant programs that put their players in positions to succeed. And I'm going to bet that they gave Jalen Hurts the most offense he could handle, and he still couldn't throw it enough in either of those situations. So it's just not a bet I want to make.
I'm with you, man. Me either. Me either. Uh, I mean, got benched in the national championship game,
Right.
so
Right.
Uh, but yeah, Dobbins and Connor for sure, big time winners. Like just like JMO, I still worry about any player that's coming off an injury. They have a stink on them. It sucks to say, but like
I don't
it's
even care
just
about ACLs anymore.
worrisome a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not saying like long term, but I'm just saying
Mhm.
like the first season coming back, like
Okay.
high
Okay.
likelihood of a compensation injury. Just
Sure.
worries me for dynasty value.
Okay.
Um, So I just like I said, it's a cop out at this point, but I've been so busy this week. I didn't really have like we're gonna talk about biggest draft losers. And I know that on the last show I said I didn't think Elijah Moore was going to get hurt by the NFL draft, but you can't help. I don't think that if they just would have drafted a wide receiver that it would have hurt him, but they
Mhm.
drafted a wide receiver, a second round running back, a tight end. Like it's gonna get split up, and it's not established as a good situation yet. So
Right.
that's
Right.
why I put Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think I mentioned on the last pod too that I would be more worried about Elijah Moore if Garrett Wilson was the pick as opposed to Drake London. And of course it's Garrett Wilson. So it's a little worrisome. But maybe the familiarity with Wilson from year one carries over a little bit more while Wilson is trying to find his way and get that rapport with Wilson. Maybe that opens up possibly a sell window. Maybe cut the shares in half on Elijah Moore. But it's not. I'm not panicked about it. I know Jeff in the Discord gives me a hard time all the time, and I'm always panicking on players and just selling them. But I think I think I will sell some Elijah Moore if the opportunity presents itself. Just again because the Jets. I mean, I can't get over it. It's probably the same thing a lot of people say about the Lions. Um, not myself being a Lions fan, but like you said earlier, it's hard to trust that organization with the history that they have. You know,
Yeah, I mean, look how long it's taken us to regain trust in the Browns. They were
right,
just like the worst for the longest
right.
time.
And did we even regain trust in the Browns, or did Deshaun Watson come to town?
Pre I think that's hitting it right on the head, man. Like,
Like they could still be a dumpster fire
there
with
was
the situation.
there was like an illusion of trusting them again when Baker had his strong rookie season, and then
Yeah,
Odell came to town. So it was Odell, Landry, Chubb. Uh, or I don't know if Hunt was there yet. He probably was, but yeah, it's really hard to trust an organization that burns you for like a decade.
yeah, yes, it is.
Uh, so if you want to go ahead and bring up your biggest draft, your first one, which is
Sure,
also your rookie that you think is most likely to bust. So we'll just tie that all into
sure.
one.
So mine's Traylon Burks, actually. I know. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's freakish, and the stuff he does on the field, it is amazing. I wonder if it's a little bit too gadgety. It was a lot of manufactured touches at Arkansas, but I mean, he can take you and burn you deep. But I think he's getting a raw deal because of the Titans trading AJ Brown and then immediately taking Treylon Burks. So now everybody says that Treylon Burks is AJ Brown. So if he comes in and is 50% of AJ Brown in his rookie season, do people panic about that? And they say, "Oh, this guy stinks. He's not what we thought he was." Because I don't think that he's gonna put up the AJ Brown type of numbers. I don't think he's the route runner that AJ Brown was when he came out. I think that Burks will still have a good rookie season, but I think ultimately Burks could be the bust of this class just because of the hype that surrounded his name and then the tail off to the hype people were kind of already getting off of because of all of him playing in the slot, the gadgety stuff seemed kind of gimmicky. But phenomenal athlete. It is a good organization too with Mike Vrabel. So, but that I think he's my bust and biggest loser of the draft because he has to live up and be AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just avoiding him. I think it's a lot of pressure to put on a
Yeah.
rookie.
hmm
Like, who else is in that wide receiver room?
Robert Woods,
Yeah, Robert Woods coming off an injury. That's right.
right at 30 years old.
And yeah, it just worries me that, his game isn't quite there yet to put him, or rather put him into that kind of role.
Sure.
So I don't, it's not a bet I want to make at the 105, 106.
hmm
I think that it's weird. I think people are going to disagree with this, but I think Olave is a much safer bet. I mean,
He probably is. I don't think Olave has the upside of what Burks could be though. If Burks is able to put it all together, I think Olave will be a fine receiver for a very long time in the NFL. But Burks could be something special with the things I saw on film if he puts it all together.
yeah. Whereas Olave could, especially with the QB situation being what it is, like Olave could kind of hover in that DJ Moore production range, or
Yep.
if he even gets there,
Right.
I
Right.
get it. So I mean, I just kind of rushed through. Oh, you had some more big draft losers. Let's talk about those before we move down.
Sure. We kind of already hit on Michael Carter with my Brees Hall stuff. Devonta Smith, I think, is a big loser just because the pass volume isn't there for that offense. I don't think to support AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
And
I
a
go
somewhat
ahead.
high profile tight end, like
Yep,
a
and
definite
Goddard.
hyped
Yeah,
up tight end.
yeah. Um, once again, we're here betting on does Jalen Hurts become a better passer to support three options in the passing game? I don't think so. I think it's Goddard and AJ Brown show now, and Devonta is sprinkled in. You're gonna have some spike weeks of Devonta, but pretty sad about my Devonta shares unless Jalen Hurts exits town.
Isn't it to call us both out a little bit? Don't you think it's a little odd to praise Amon Ra and Jameson so much, but kind of like worry about Devonta and AJ Brown and worry about Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson when all the
Uh,
quarterbacks to kind of throw them in a bag and like just pick one out and they're all kind of similar.
I do, but I think the difference is we did at one point see Goff play at an MVP level. We've seen that happen as a passer. I think he can distribute enough between, and I don't think they're going to be wide receiver ones every week, or even maybe not even wide receiver twos every week. But I think you'll be happy with them on your dynasty rosters and your dynasty teams as flex players and wide receiver twos, because I don't think Jalen Hurts has the passing chops to do what Goff does. And I know Goff is not spectacular by any means. I'm not endorsing Goff at all. You like Goff more than I do, and I'm a Lions fan. um, but and that's Goff's game. Goff cannot run out of the pocket. It's miserable to watch him try to scramble out of a pocket. It's god awful. So he has to throw the ball to get it out of his hands to get out of trouble. So that's where I see it a little bit differently. And just Zach Wilson's rookie season was a disaster. Um, and once again, Jets. It's just the Jets. But you can say the same for the Lions too. And I get it. And I probably am being a little homer, not worrying as much about Jameson Williams and Amon Ra, but I think Goff is capable to distribute.
Oh, that was a great rebuttal. It was a thought that came to my mind, and I just wanted to.
No, it was a really good thought, honestly, because we were kind of they are very similar situations. They really are.
But speaking of you being worried about the Jets, so the next topic that I had in here was who do you think will have the biggest impact in year one? And you have surprisingly have Garrett Wilson
I do, don't
in
I?
here. You're like, oops, forgot to delete
Yeah.
that one.
Whoops. Just a supreme talent. Is their defense going to be any better this year? How many times are they going to put the ball in the air? We saw Elijah Moore. I believe he was hurt to start camp and then hurt to end the season as well. And I know he's a smaller guy. Um, and like I said before, the Jets landing spot, Garrett Wilson was my wide receiver one, and the landing spots kind of tossed things in a bag and mixed them up for me. But I still think he could be very productive year one just out of sheer volume.
Did you know that Chris Olave is only 1 month older than Garrett Wilson?
I did not know that. And Garrett Wilson was
I
a junior, wasn't he?
yeah,
Huh.
I I think that people watched Ohio State tape and just like with a bias wanted to like Garrett Wilson more than Olave. Uh, I don't know. I think so, man. Like I don't know.
I think
They
he's
seem
more
so
explosive.
similar to me.
I think
I
he's
get
more
that. I get
explosive.
that for sure.
That's what I liked when I
Um,
saw him more. Olave was very smooth, and honestly, when I was watching him, it's not a perfect comp, but I felt like I was watching Devonta Smith. Like he's just kind of always open. He's always the open guy. It's nothing flashy. It's just technically sound, and that's how he's going to beat you. And that's why I think Olave sticks around for a long time, is because his game is literally predicated on being a technician.
yeah, and it's just like they're both fast. It's just so
Yeah.
it's tough for me. It's tough.
The
Uh,
4.39 was really surprising because it didn't look that fast on
you mean the
tape.
4.26?
Yeah, the 4.26, then correct it, and then fix it, and
I
then,
was
"No,
like
we got new
blown away when
turf."
I saw that. I was like,
Oh, dude.
"Thank you, God."
I couldn't believe it either because I was kinda trending more towards an Olave hater, honestly, because I was like, "I don't get it. I don't get it." He just he's open all the time, and, be living in Michigan, I'm a big Ohio State hater, so, that bleeds in a little bit. I gotta work on kinda correcting that with some of my hatred towards some schools and some of my love for some Lions players and Kenneth Walker, but won't happen anytime soon.
I mean, we'll never know, but I mean, the organization that you praise the front office of took my boy Olave, and the
Yeah,
organization that you're worried about took Garrett Wilson.
I
So
know, I
we'll
know.
see. But we'll never know if you know if the Saints would have taken Wilson over Olave if they had the chance. We'll never know. So
Right, right.
kind of dumb for me to even bring that up. Uh,
No,
so
no,
I think Olave is going to have a big impact in year one, just based on, I think it's a lot of like mediocre, crappy wide receivers behind him and Michael Thomas there. Like
yeah,
it's not really anyone that's going to succeed in my opinion.
yeah, I
Yeah.
looking at your list now and seeing Olave on there, that was the clear and obvious choice I should have had on my list as well, just out of what you just said there. There's nobody else. What else are they gonna do?
And it's going to be a high like passing volume offense. So
Mhm.
kind of a no-brainer. I think Brees Hall also has like a pretty big impact, especially if Zach Wilson struggles. I could see them giving Brees Hall like quite a bit of volume, even with Michael Carter. I could see Brees Hall having 230, 240 touches and like
Sure,
60, 70 targets. Like I could
sure,
see 300 opportunities for him.
sure. Yeah, I think
Uh,
that's very possible. Um, Definitely if Zach Wilson is struggling. We see it all the time. Teams just go into that slow down, run the ball, burn the clock. Let's just protect our quarterback, protect our defense, and let's get out of here.
I'm curious what Michael Carter's targets were last year, so I was looking that up real quick. But
Sure.
I want to say Zach 55 targets for Michael Carter last year, so pretty close to that 60, 70 range.
Yeah.
The
And
biggest question is like, are they going to be valuable? You know, like, is he going to be getting tackled right away because that's what they're expecting? Like, is it going to be a
right,
good offense? So
right, right. Did they draft any offensive linemen? Did they bring anybody in?
I'm not sure.
I
I don't
feel
think
like
so. I've heard I heard someone mention on a podcast that they didn't do anything to address the O line. I might be wrong, but so you have did you pull it up?
yeah, I'm getting it right now.
Stall.
Yeah, right. Or you can ask me questions. I can do both.
um so
I
you
don't see it.
have we'll get the Brees Hall offensive line help question answered, but you have Drake London, which I totally understand with the targets that are going to be there for him and Kyle Pitts, but I just worry about like that O line is terrible. Like that O line
Yeah,
is not good. And they
it,
spent
it is, but I
first round
mean,
pick on wide receiver on well, I could just call Kyle Pitts a wide receiver. He basically is, but they spent first
yeah,
round
he
picks
might as
on
well be.
weapons 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that there's definitely concern for quarterback play. Um, but I just think that the Falcons are going to be so bad that the volume will be there, and at the frame that Drake London has at 6'5" and the wingspan, I don't think it matters what quarterback's throwing him the ball because everything is within his catch radius. So I'm not really
Makes
concerned
sense.
too much about accuracy with him, and then plus you get the upped volume with it from a bad defense.
I just also wasn't in love with him. So I get the
I
size argument. It's just someone I don't want to be wrong on him because he wasn't one of my guys. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
Like I don't know what other way to say it.
they took a offensive tackle in round 4. That's the only offensive lineman they drafted.
So not very much for Brees
Nope,
Hall.
nope.
But your
Malik's
other
already
guy on
set
this
at
list,
tackle.
who?
Yeah. Oh, I think the Jets were already set at tackle. I think Mekhi Becton and
Yeah.
the other guy's escaping me.
Um, we'll see. I mean, just because they have high draft capital with offensive linemen doesn't always work out. I mean, I don't do a terribly great amount of research on offensive linemen. I'm hoping that when I have more time in the future, I can kind of dive more into the actual, you know, knowing everyone's name as far as like
Sure.
who they are, so I could actually talk intelligently about it. But we've talked about Kenny Walker too, and you had him on your list too.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty obvious one. Like bad
Hmm.
situation, they're just going to be giving it to him big
Yep.
time.
I hope they want to protect Drew Lock and just hand the ball off and run the season out.
Same. I like we both said we've been taking Kenny Pickett at one or Kenny Pickett, Kenneth Walker at 102. You are definitely not taking Kenny Pickett at 102.
No, I'm not taking him at
Um,
all. I won't have any Kenny Pickett. I saw Kenny
s-
Pickett go 101 yesterday.
oh my gosh.
101. Like, I get the people that are taking him in the back half of the first. At that point, like, even I consider it sometimes, and I almost pulled the trigger, but somebody took him the pick before me, or else I would have won Kenny Pickett share.
I don't get 101, but I get like
Oh.
I understand like 103 to 105 if like you really believe in him and you need
Hmm.
a quarterback if it's like a 14 team league. I get it.
Sure.
Like I'm considering taking him at 105 in a 14 team where I don't have any other quarterbacks because I'm in a full rebuild, but
Hmm.
we'll see what happens. So, we're getting a little long-winded here. We just want to briefly touch on players that we think are gonna take multiple years to develop. I put London. Um, I just think if he's gonna work out, it's gonna take a good QB being there to put the ball in him. But obviously, you had the rebuttal of that you think the
Right.
frame. I just, I think yeah, it's gonna be in his catch radius, but like, is he gonna be open? Like, is he? I mean, I guess he was a physical player in college. Like, I could just
Hmm.
see teams really focusing on him and Pitts, and like, if you're getting tackled when you're catching it, like, I could see a very low catch rate happening for him.
Sure. It's very possible. But like I said, I'm not concerned just because of the amount of volume. And eventually they're going to be, getting blown out and defenses will back off and we're just going to have all the Matt Stafford garbage time from Detroit, you know.
And just now that like I'm thinking about him more and we're talking about it, like the dynasty value is gonna sustain from that high draft capital. Like
Mhm.
Corey Davis sustained like a third, fourth round startup pick for so many years, just based on being the fifth round pick. Like I saw him go high
Right.
so many times. I took him over Julio when Julio was still producing, just off hype.
Mhm.
Crazy. If you want to mention you got
Yeah,
two
so
guys here.
I put down Trey McBride because he's going to get the Dallas Goddard treatment and hang out with Zach Ertz for a couple years, which isn't bad for tight ends. And then I also put Rashad White, who went to Tampa Bay. I just have concerns that what kind of work does he get while Brady's there, and what happens after Brady?
Yeah.
That's where my concerns lie. Does he get an opportunity with Brady? Does Brady play 2 years? Does Brady play 3 years? At this point, I'm not even going to try to guess. I'm just going to wait for him to retire and be like, that seems like the right time for you to go. It's I can't believe he's still playing.
I wasn't like really in love with Rashad White. Like I honestly liked Zamir White more than him. I thought Zamir White had better like footwork and just better in between the tackles with his lean
Hmm.
and just the way he slipped guys, and his burst is obviously much better,
Sure.
much faster. The problem with Zamir is that you didn't see any breakaway stuff on tape. That's the main
Hmm.
problem. But I don't hate Rashad White. I should clarify.
I just like that he's a pass catcher. That's what it comes down to for
Yeah.
me again. He's got the pass catching. And with
Sometimes I have those
Brady,
blinders on. Like, I just love a running back's pure skill, and I forget about the pass catching aspect of fantasy.
mhm,
It's tough.
it's hilarious that I love Kenny Walker so much and he doesn't catch passes.
Yeah. But that's a little bit of homerism, right?
Yeah,
Because you're a
it
Michigan State
is.
fan.
Yeah, it is.
Even though he's not really a Michigan State guy.
He's not at all, but I loved him. I think that he can catch passes. He did in high school. I think it's overblown. I think that given the opportunity, he'll do it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just, like, looking, and I guess my mouth
Oh.
is open. Uh, so we already talked about the busts. We can move on here to I mean, unless you wanted to touch on your other 2 busts
Yeah, I
briefly.
can I can go real quick. I just have George Pickens because of the attitude stuff in college. He's in a great place for it. We've seen, Antonio Brown and Juju succeed in Pittsburgh, but then also Deontay, Pat Fryermuth, Najee, Chase Claypool, Kenny Pickett coming in, bad offensive line. What really is there for George Pickens to be able? What opportunity is he going to get to show? I think he's going to have to wait for Deontay or Claypool to see their way out of town. And I think, honestly, some people are saying Deontay. I think it's Claypool that's on his way out. I think he's the one that they're trying to get out of. And then I put Tyquan Thornton because basically the Pats are terrible at drafting wide receivers. So I just don't even care about Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah, I didn't care about him before he went to the Patriots,
Right,
really,
right,
honestly.
yeah.
I love Pickens. I get the concerns. I think someone's definitely going to leave town. I think with the quarterback change, maybe Freiermuth is less involved. Like we just don't we haven't seen it yet. We don't know if
Hmm.
these quarterbacks are because like Trubisky never went to a tight end. Not that I want Trubisky to be the guy, but um, Najee is definitely a threat with his pass catching for sure.
Hmm.
So I totally get it. So I want to move on to sleepers, and I've just said his name a jillion times on this
It's
podcast.
no longer
Samir
a
White,
sleeper.
just because of his price, man. Like early
Yeah,
third round. I mean, in some drafts he's probably going later than that, but I'm not letting him fall
yeah.
past there, just because it's at that point like Rashad White's gone for most people, and what else are you gonna take? Like one of these tight ends like Ruckert or Wandale Robinson, maybe Dulcich is still there. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather have a shot at a running back personally.
Mhm.
I had Algier as well. And
I
they
like
cut
the
Mike
Algier one.
Davis.
Yeah, I like the Algier one a lot because of them cutting Mike Davis basically right after the draft. They kind of seemed like, "Yep, no, we're good." So that was nice to see. I had down Jeremy Ruckert as one of my sleepers. We saw the Jets bring in Uzama and Tyler Conklin, so they're obviously looking for a tight end. So I think he'll have the opportunity to be there, and I think I'm grabbing him in the 4th or the 5th round. And at that point, we're throwing darts at UDFA running backs. Um, at least this guy, and I think Ruckert went in the 3rd round.
Yep. I love
So
Ruckert.
yeah,
I think he's one of the best tight ends in this class, honestly.
it's it's really Dewey's sleeper. I kind of stole it from him. He's been talking up Ruckert for months now. That's where I got it from. That's where I got the love for him from. But I think he has a good opportunity. And then I put down Brian Robinson because of what I said on the last pod with about Antonio Gibson. There's just something not right with the Commanders and Antonio Gibson and his usage. And I think Brian Robinson is going to play more of a role than people believe right now. Because Peyton Barber kept Antonio Gibson off the field in his rookie year, and he was just a plotter in the middle. And that's what I think Brian Robinson is too.
Maybe a little bit, just a tiny bit more. But
Mm-hmm.
I like that take. I don't love Brian Robinson, but I could see him having value for a spot start,
Mm-hmm.
even as soon as this year, like for
Sure.
sure.
Sure. End of the second.
I just love how Jeremy Ruckert like plucks the ball out of the air too. Like he's got good hands for a tight end for sure. So I love those picks. So let's talk about some trades that you made, Corey. I like that
Okay.
first one.
Yeah, I traded ETN, which was for the 104 actually at that point, and I already had the 101 and 103. Um, so I went Brees Hall. Somebody went Drake London at 2, so I got Brees and Kenneth Walker there. And somebody offered me their 104 for ETN, and I was like, well, at this point, I've got Jonathan Taylor on this roster as well, so I'm 3 running backs deep. That's more than enough for me to risk it on a wide receiver that I love. So 104 for J or 104 for ETN, and I took JMO, and then I sent my 108 for Lenny on a competitive team.
Same team?
No, this was a different
Oh,
team.
so that was a different trade.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea, but I get that's the rage right now in the Discord is you guys are all I mean, I get it. Rashad White, what was he, 4th? Was he 3rd round or
No, I
4th?
think it was a third rounder. I think it was a third rounder. Yeah.
But also, like I said, I wasn't even in love with him either. So
I just think Brady obviously trusts Leonard Fournette, and we've seen that before with Brady. When he trusts a guy, he goes to that guy. So I don't think they're really going to go away from Lenny. I think that Rashad White will play a role, but I think he's more of looking towards the future.
that one's just so hard for me because like I could see Lenny just being a one year wonder and Not that he was good last year, not that he's a one-year
Hmm.
wonder, but just 1 year and done, and then, like, I'm getting Olave sometimes at the 108, so it's really tough for me to make that, but I get the logic, like a win
Yeah.
now, super win now team
Hmm.
solidifying that running back room. But something to think about is, like, are you doing it a little bit too early? Like,
It's possible. But usually so what I will say about the 108s that I have moved for some of these older running backs is I had multiple first round picks. So I had already put youth onto those rosters, and we were kind of getting to that Olave, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Pickens, and I'm just like, with this roster, and I've already had these early picks, I think I can risk selling it because I did infuse some youth into the roster, is when I'll do it. If it's my only pick, I'm not going to move it for Lenny or Aaron Jones. It's only something I do when I have multiple.
good context added there, I like that. So those are the 2 that you had. I was in a draft, another strong team of mine, a 12-team super flex. I sent a mid 23 first and Mr. Irrelevant this year, so 412 for Christian Watson. I have, I think, Debo, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Juju, Mike Williams, I think, and now Watson is like my 5th or 6th wide receiver. So I just wanted Watson bad, just some homerism getting me a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, so I didn't mind it. And there's a lot of upside there. And then this one you probably hate with a passion, but on this is a really, really good team in a 14 team super flex.
Oh,
Uh I talk about this team all the time, so I'm not even gonna list, but trust me, it's a really, really good team, and I'm the champion, and I'm going to win again. I sent my 24
nice.
first
I see that.
for for John Mechie. Like, so I just love John Mechie. I see that 24 first as basically like when you add in the production I'm gonna get for 2 years before that 2024 first comes into
Hmm.
to fruition, and much like you said with your team where you traded the 108 for Lenny, I have like uh young running backs, young wide receivers.
Sure.
My team is already young, but still really good, so I
Hmm.
don't mind. I feel like I gave up like the 204 when you add in like when you bake in that I'm getting 2 years of production.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I get it, and I know he's your guy. Definitely not something I would want to do just because it's so far away, and I don't like to predict that, my first is going to be late at that point because, I might wake up one morning and look at a roster and be like, I hate this thing and I'm going to blow it up. And I like to have my first in my pocket just so I can do that. That's just a personal preference though.
No, I get it. I get it. It's definitely a risk. Excuse me, it was a risk I was willing to take. And then I already talked about this Kareem Hunt one. Yeah, so that's it for my trades. And then I was thinking about this at work. So this is probably a hot take to most also, but I was just my thoughts on 2022 versus 2023. Like the guys I really love in 2023 right now are the obvious ones, Bijan Robinson and Jameer Gibbs. So I mean, I know Keishawn Butte and Jackson Smith and Jigba are like really, really good prospects, but like I feel like wide receivers fluctuate a lot more than like, and I feel like Bijan and Jameer have really like solidified. I mean, for some
Hmm.
people, Jameer hasn't, but like for me, he was ahead of Bijan for me coming out of high school. Like I loved Jameer Gibbs so much. So maybe I include those 2 wide receivers. So it would put you at 4 2023 picks, but those are like I'm just not like super confident. I'll pull up my 2023 rookie rankings and just toss some names out there that I'm really not like confident in over some of these 2022 guys,
Hmm.
like Zach Evans, Tank Bigsby, and the quarterbacks. Like I'm decently confident in CJ Stroud, but I'm not. I don't know about Bryce Young. He's small.
He is. I saw him on the Heisman stage. I didn't realize how tall or how small 6 foot looked, next to a 6'5".
And Addison is might be transferring for the second time. It's just like worrisome. And then you're talking about like getting down to Jermaine Burton, Sean Tucker, Jaden Wally. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen with these guys. So I would
Right.
much rather have Hall, Walker, Pickett, Olave, and even like Jameson take the shot on like Pickens and Watson. And like, honestly, since I love Mechie so much, like, I wouldn't pay that for him. Like, I'm not saying I should have clarified that. I'm not paying necessarily trading away my 23 picks, but I'm not like, if I'm in a 2022 rookie draft and I have an opportunity to draft one of these guys that I like this year and get production from them this year, I'm not
Mhm.
just trading for a random 23 first. I'm calling TJ out on this one. TJ is just like the random 23 first guy. He's like, I will take any random 23 first.
He does have a lot of 23 first. So I agree with TJ on it because of this class being so hated. Um, and the hype is already astronomical for 23. So even if a couple of these players start to tail off, there's still going to be so much hype that all these picks, while they continue to be random, until through the first quarter of the 22 season, where they're probably still going to be random and hold large amounts of value. And with the amount of hype people have talked this class up with, it's going to feel like 2020 and 2021 all over again, where you can just sell these picks for whatever you want, you know?
I I get it. I totally get it. I just worry about like some of these guys that are high up the list having issues, and I know that could be the same thing for this hated 2022 class in the actual NFL, and then their values really shot. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just my preference. Like, I'm not in love with these guys, and I love some of the landing spots for some of these 2022 guys. So I guess I just wanted to put my stake in the ground, and we will see who is.
Sure.
So this is kind of like a bet.
It
This is kind of
is.
like a
It
bet between you
is.
and I. Like,
Give me
I would
23.
much rather have my top 4 in this class. So we shall see. I'm
All
excited.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
excited to see what happens.
I can't wait for 23. It's going to be wild.
I just want to clarify too. I don't hate 23. I like 23 a
It,
lot,
sound,
but I'm
it,
just
it
worried
sounds like
about.
you hate 23.
I'm worried about the
That's
105 through 112 and 23. All of a sudden we get there and it's like similar to this class, and it's like, okay, I
hmm
waited a year and I got the same things. So
Did you see the tweet? It was either Kuiper or McShay. I don't know who put it out. They set the early over under on 23 quarterbacks in the NFL draft at 6.5 going in the first round.
that's clickbait, dude.
It's got to
That's
be, but
clickbait.
still, they said it. you know, I
I mean, I, this might be a hot take to some, but I'm based on what happens next year, I might like Will Levis more than CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Like, it could happen. Like, I know he's an old prospect, but like,
Mhm.
the hype is building around him. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of people haven't even heard of him. He's the Kentucky quarterback.
sure. I've heard the name. I haven't seen him play or anything, but I'm sure I will be diving into these 23 guys soon.
So I think those were my parting words, unless you had any final thoughts to
Oh
steal that
man,
from
oh my
Dynasty Theory.
lord,
I think
JB's gonna kill us.
I'm gonna get sued. I'm
JB,
gonna
I'm sorry, I didn't sign off on that. But no, I don't. Nope. Just have fun. Have
all
fun.
right,
Get your guys. Do what Newts does and get your guys.
but
Sometimes
don't be ridiculous about
yeah,
it.
don't be ridiculous, but get your guys. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a slave to the values and all of that. And sometimes I just want to make a trade. I just want this guy, so I'm just gonna do it.
The I will say the thing is, like, I feel like I put a lot of work into like tape and just this whole game in general. So that's why I do feel so confident in my guys sometimes. And like,
Hmm.
you said you're a slave to the value. I feel like sometimes if you give up that value and you get right, I mean, you can just get it right back. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I am going to sign us off then for myself, James Newton, for Corey, also known as Ronald Cavalier. This has been another Gem Drafter podcast, and we are out.
Have a good